Yes. Hey guys, so this is going to be the second video, official video, on the AutoMoarotica series of Hot and Badgered. So the first video, was the prologue. So if you haven't seen that, go back and check it out. So this one's going to be chapter 1, which actually is the official story going on. If you haven't been able to tell, I'm moving. Everything looks really empty because I'm trying to get out of Alberta. I'm going to BC. And Corona's not going to stop me, so whatever. Anyway, so as I've said in the previous video, production values on these are going to improve, but for right now, this is what it is. So it's just me reading straight out. I want to give you guys something to do while you're all sitting at home. Yeah, so here's chapter 1. I'm going to burp now. Oh, good. Awesome. Thanks. Again. Wow, again. Wow. Okay. I'm really congested or something. I don't know. Anyway. So here's chapter 1. 16 years later after the prologue. What had she been thinking? Using Ride of the Valkyries as a ringtone? Because that shit waking up a person at 6 in the morning was just cruel. Really cruel. And as always, she'd done it to herself. Forgoing her anxiety meds so she could get drunk with a couple of cute Italian guys that she dumped as soon as the first one's head to hit the table. Charlie Taylor McKilligan slapped her hand against the bedside table next to the bed, blindly searching for her damn phone. When she touched it, she was relieved. She had no plan to actually get out of bed anytime soon. Not as hungover as she currently was. But she really wanted that damn ringtone to stop. Somehow, without even lifting her head from the pillow she had her face buried in, or opening her eyes, Charlie managed to touch the right thing on her phone screen so that she actually answered it. "What?" she growled. "Get out," was the reply. "Get out now!" Hangover forgotten, Charlie was halfway across the room when they kicked the door open. She turned and ran towards the sliding glass doors she'd left open the night before. She had just made it to the balcony outside when something hot rammed into her shoulder, tearing past flesh and muscle burrowing into her bone. The power of it sent her flipping headfirst over the railing. "What do you think?" the jackal shifter asked. Sitting in a club chair in his Milan, Italy hotel suite, Berg Dunn gazed at the man holding up his black jacket. "What do I think about what?" Berg asked. "The jacket for my show tonight." Berg shrugged. "I don't know." "You must have an opinion." "I don't. I happily have no opinion on what a grown man who is not me should wear." The jackal sighed. "You're useless." "I have one job. Keeping your crazed fans from tracking you down and stripping the flesh from your bones. That's it. That's all I'm supposed to do. I, at no time, said that I would ever help you with your fashion sense." Rolling his eyes, the jackal laid the jacket on the bed and then stared at it, like he expected it to tell him something, to actually speak to him. Berg wanted to complain about this ridiculous job, but how could he when it was the best one he'd had in years? Following a very rich, very polite jackal around so that he could play piano for screaming fans in foreign countries was the coolest gig ever. First class everything. Jets, food, women. Not that Berg took advantage of the women thing too often. He knew most were just trying to use him to get to Cooper John Louis Parker. Come on. Okay. Oh, it's shortened now. Coop was the one out there every night, banging away at those Steinway pianos, doing things with his fingers that even Berg found fascinating, and wooing all those lovely females with his handsome jackal looks. Berg was just the guy to get through so they could get to the musical genius. And unlike some of his friends, being used by beautiful women wasn't one of his favorite things. It was a tolerable thing, but not his favorite. "I can't decide," the jackal finally admitted. "I know how hard it is to pick between one black jacket and another black jacket. Which will your black turtleneck go with?" "It's not just another black jacket, peasant. It's the difference between pure black and charcoal black." "We have a train to catch," Berg reminded Coop. "So if you could just speed this," both shifters jumped. Their gazes locked on the balcony outside the room, visible through the doors open to let the morning fresh air in. "Another crazed female fan trying to make her way into Coop's room?" Some of these women, all of them full humans, were willing to try any type of craziness for just a chance at ending up in the maestro's bed. With a sigh, Berg pushed himself out of the chair and headed across the large room towards the sliding glass doors. It looked like he would have to break another poor woman's heart. But he stopped when he saw her. A brown-skinned woman, completely naked, which in and of itself was not unusual. The women who tried to sneak into Coop's room, no matter the country they might be in, were often naked. What stopped Berg in his tracks was that this woman had blood coming from her shoulder. The blood from a gun wound. Berg motioned Coop back. "Get in the bathroom," he ordered. "Oh, come on. I want to see I don't care what you want. Get in the..." And the men stopped arguing when they suddenly saw him. A man in a black military tactical gear, armed with a rifle, handgun, and several blades. He zipped down a line and landed on the railing of their balcony. Berg placed his hand on the gun holster at his side and stepped in front of Coop. "Get in the bathroom, Coop," he ordered, his voice low. "We have to help her. Do what I tell you, and I will." The man in black dropped onto the balcony and grabbed the unconscious woman by her arm, rolling her limp body over. "Now, Coop, go!" Tense. Berg moved forward with his weapon drawn from his holster. The man pulled his sidearm and pressed the barrel against the woman's head. Berg aimed his .45 and barked, "Hey!" The man looked up, bringing his gun with him. Gazes locked, fingers resting on the triggers, each man sizing up the other. And that was when the woman moved. Fast, so fast. Berg knew she wasn't completely human, which immediately changed everything. The woman grabbed her attacker's gun hand by the wrist and held it to the side so he couldn't finish the job on her. She used her free hand to pummel the man's face repeatedly. Blood poured down his lips from his shattered nose, his eyes now dazed. Still holding the man's wrist, she got to her feet. She was tall, maybe 5'10 or 5'11, with broad, powerful shoulders and arms and especially legs. Like a much too tall gymnast. She gripped her attacker by the throat with one hand and, without much effort, lifted him up over the balcony railing. She released him and then unleashed the biggest claws Berg had ever seen from her right hand. Turning away from the attacker, she swiped at the zip line and held him aloft, and Berg cringed a little at the man's desperate screams as he fell to the ground below. That's when she saw Berg. Her claws, coming from surprisingly small hands, were still unleashed. Her gaze narrowed on him and her shoulders hunched just a bit. She was readying herself for an attack. To kill the man who could out her as a shifter, he guessed, not having had time to process that he was one too. Plus, he had a gun, which wouldn't help his cause in any way. "It's okay," Berg said, quickly reholstering his weapon. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." "Yeah," Coop said from behind. "We just want to help." Berg let out a frustrated breath. "I thought I told you to get into the bathroom. I wanted to see what was going on." Coop moved to Berg's side. "We're shifters too," he said, using that goddamn charming smile. Like this was the time for any of that. Come on, really? But this woman rolled her eyes in silent exasperation and came fully into the room. She walked right by Berg and Coop and to the bedroom door. "Wait," Berg called out when she turned to face him, one brow raised in question. He reminded her, "You're naked." He went to his already packed travel bag and pulled out a black t-shirt. "Here," he said, handing it to her. She pulled the shirt on. He saw that he had given her one of his favorite band shirts from a Fishbone concert he'd seen years ago with his parents and siblings. "Your shoulder," Berg prompted, deciding not to obsess over the shirt, especially when she looked so cute in it. She shook her head at his prompt and again started towards the door. But a crash from the sweet living room had Berg grabbing the woman's arm with one hand and shoving Coop across the bedroom and into the bathroom with the other. Berg faced the intruder, pulling the woman in behind his body. Two gunshots hit Berg in the lower chest. The man had pulled the trigger without actually seeing all of Berg, but expecting a more normal-sized human. Which meant a few things to Berg. That he was dealing with a full human, an expertly trained full human, an ex-soldier probably. An ex-soldier with a kill order. Because if he'd been trying to kidnap the woman, He would have had made damn sure that he knew who or what she was on the other end before he pulled that trigger. But he didn't know. He didn't check because he didn't care. Everyone in the room had to die. And knowing that, understanding that, did nothing but piss Berg off. This is amazing. Who just ran around trying to kill a naked, unarmed woman? His analytical side wanted to know that. The grizzly part of him, though, didn't care about any of that. All it knew was that it had been shot, and shooting a grizzly but not killing it immediately always was an exceptionally bad move. Oh, this is so good. The snarl snaked out of Berg's throat, and the muscles between his shoulders grew into a healthy grizzly hump. He barely managed to keep from shifting completely, but his grizzly bear rage exploded and his roar rattled the windows. The bathroom door behind him slammed shut, and the jackal having the sense to now go into hiding. The intruder quickly backed up, knowing something wasn't right, but not fully understanding, which was why he didn't run. But he really should have run. With a step, Berg was right in front of him, grabbing the gun from his hand and spinning the man around so that he had him by the throat. He did this because 2 more men in tactical gear were coming into the suite through the front door they'd taken down moments before. Using the man's weapon, Berg shot each man twice in the chest. They both had on body armor, so he wasn't worried he'd killed them. With both attackers down, Berg refocused on the man he held captive. He spun him around because he wanted to ask him a few questions about what the hell was going on. He was calmer now. He could be rational. But when the man again faced him, Berg felt a little twinge in his side. He slowly looked down and found a combat blade sticking out. First, he'd been shot. Now stabbed. His grisly rage soared once again, and as the His grisly rage soared once again, and as the intruder, quickly recognizing his error, attempted to fight his way out of Berg's grasp, desperately begging for his life, Berg grasped each side of his attacker's face and squeezed with both hands until the man's head popped like a zit. It was the blood and bone hitting him in the face that snapped Berg back in the moment, and he gazed down at his brain-covered hands. Oh shit, he muttered. Shit. The other intruders, ignoring the pain from the shots, scrambled up out of the suite, and far away from Berg, as far away from Berg as they could get. Someone touched his arm, and he half turned to see the woman. She raised her hands and rewarded him with a soft smile. That's when he calmed down. Shit, he said again, holding his hands out to her. She stepped close, held his wrists, studied the blade still sticking out of his side. She then examined the wounds in his chest. Unlike the intruders, he hadn't been wearing body armor. The bullets had hit him, had entered his body, but he was a grizzly. Even as a human, you had to bring bigger weapons if you wanted to take one down of his kind with 1 or 2 shots. Berg knew just watching her that she was going to help him. She was going to try. But she was in more danger than he was, and she needed to get out of there. Go, he told her and frowned, and she frowned. Seriously, go. He pulled away from her and went to his travel bag, paused to wipe the blood off his hands on a nearby towel, and took out a .45 Ruger, handing it to her. Take this. Her eyes narrowed again as she stared up at him. I get the feeling you need it more than me, he pushed, so just go. She took the weapon, dropped the magazine, cleared the gun with one hand before shoving the loaded mag back in and putting the round in the chamber. Yep. The woman knew how to handle his .45. That's what it says. Maybe better than he did. She pressed her free hand against his forearm and, with a nod, slipped out of the door and out of the suite. Can I come out now? Coop asked from the bathroom. But before Berg could tell him no, the jackal was already standing behind him. Well, Coop said, that was interesting. You could say that. You're bleeding. Yes. And please stop playing with the knife. Coop pulled his hand away from the blade handle, then attempted to look contrite. Sorry, does it hurt? Berg frowned at him and Coop nodded. I'll take that glare as a yes. Maybe I should call the front desk. He started towards the phone at the side of the table by the bed. Think we'll make our train, the jackal asked. Slowly, Berg faced Coop and noted, You're not used to real life, are you? Not really. Why? This is going to be big. When Coop's head tipped to the side like a confused schnauzer, he added, "The hotel room of some big-time penis was just violently invaded." It's pianist. Yeah, I said that. No, he hadn't. Anyway, we'll have to get our story straight, and we should leave out the girl. Oh. Coop thought a moment, the receiver held loosely in his hand. Finally, he said, "I'll call my sister first." "Why?" "If anyone can manage this, it's Tony." Coop winced. "But she's going to be annoyed at you for, letting this happen." "You're alive, aren't you?" "Yes, and I'm quite grateful, and I don't hold you responsible for this at all, but my sister, she won't be as open-minded." "You should prepare for that." "I'm sure I can handle a she-jackal." Using his cell phone to call his sister, Coop chuckled. "Yeah, sure you can." Oh, I hate this book. Staring at the open bedroom door, Berg asked, "Think I'll ever see her again?" "The girl that was never here?" Coop asked. He shrugged while waiting for someone to answer on the other end of the phone. "If you keep an eye on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, sure. Because let's face it, that's a woman who seems to have trouble following her around like a needy puppy." Charlie avoided the elevator and found the stairs. She ran down until she found the parking lot. She eased the door open, keeping the friendly giant's gun in her hand. Yep. She peeked around the door, didn't see anyone, so she ran toward the exit. She dodged around the expensive cars, staying low and moving fast. She dashed past a car valet and out the lot. Charlie moved down the street, cutting around the surprising number of people who were up this early. She had just reached the corner when a man in a black tactical outfit and body armor stepped in front of her. They both raised their weapons at the same time. Charlie already pulling the trigger when a Lamborghini jumped the curb and rammed into the man. Both weapons missed their marks, but now her attacker was pinned to the ground, screaming in agony as the passenger window lowered, and Charlie heard the familiar and shockingly casual, considering the circumstances, "Hey, shithead." The petite Asian woman with the short pixie haircut dyed blue grinned at her. They were sisters, but one would never know it by looking at them. Max McHilligan asked, "Miss me? Can you drive?" Charlie got into the passenger seat, "But be careful, you still have humans stuck to the grill." I should let him shoot you? What kind of sister would I be?" "One I don't have to visit in an Italian prison." Chuckling, Max put the car in reverse, and Charlie worked hard to ignore the short-lived begging and two long crunching sounds coming from under the car as she pulled out. Charlie knew her sister was taking her time driving back over the gunman. Max McKilligan, was known for being vengeful. Once they were on the road and cutting through early morning Milan traffic, Max pointed down. "Check by your feet." Charlie did and found a small case. She opened it and let out a relieved sigh. "Thank you," she said, putting the eyeglasses on. Suddenly she could see again. She hadn't had time to grab her regular pair off the bedside table before she had to make a run for it, and she hadn't gotten her contact prescription refilled in a few months. She kept forgetting. So for the last 15 minutes, everything had been one blurry mess. Even the helpful giant was just a big blurry spot. She'd have to get close to his face to identify him. But he had sounded cute. And so nice. "Better?" Maxie asked. "Much. I can now see who's trying to kill me." Fuck off. She looked at Max and immediately cringed at the sight. "Oh, wow, they really beat the shit out of you." Excuse me, Max replied indignant. "These lacerations and bruises are not because of the man who came to kill me. With my usual aplomb, I have dealt with those scumbags." "Uh-huh. Then what did happen?" "Why do we have to discuss that? Our lives are in danger." Charlie gazed at her sister for a few moments before guessing, "Squirrels again?" "They started it!" It's nice to see that nothing has really changed since we last saw each other. Charlie glanced out the window, but she had to look away. Her sister was moving so fast that it was kind of making her nauseous. What about Stevie? "I'm waiting to hear back from her about her boss." "Her boss?" "She's not answering her cell, and her assistants have no idea where she is." "Is she still in Switzerland?" Max shrugged. "Maybe," and stopped glaring at me. How hard is it to keep an eye on one woman? I take 6 months, and you take 6 months. And that was our agreement. But why is she still our responsibility? Because she's our sister and we love her, and if we don't watch out for her, she will get involved with the wrong people and destroy the world. Is that what you want? You always ask me that question, and you're always disappointed with my answer. Charlie sighed. Well, we need to find her. I know. She's in as much danger as we are. I know. They sent trained military after us. I know. And I know this car is stolen. Of course it's stolen. Well, that seems like kind of a problem since we have cops behind us. Buckle up. Buckle up! Oh, God. Charlie put on her seatbelt. We're going to die before we can get to her. Stop whining. You don't know how hard we are to kill. Hard to kill doesn't mean we can't lose body parts in tragic car accidents. And we can't exactly save our little sister if we're both in prison. And legless. What is your obsession with losing your legs? It could happen! Max downshifted and swerved around a truck making a turn, barely missing the front end. I don't understand why you insist on worrying about something that may or may not happen, Maxie noted casually as a group of nuns dove out of her way. Their panic screams horrifying Charlie. If you lose your legs, I'll get you a wheelchair with a Ferrari motor so that goes from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't a good book be great? It would be great. Ugh. Hands pressed against the dashboard, Charlie admitted, I'd rather have my legs still attached to my body. That's such a narrow view. What about bionic legs? School children, Charlie warned. Bionic legs would be so cool. School children! I see them, calm yourself. The car stopped somehow, and Max patiently waited for the children and their teachers to get across the street. Out of nowhere, she began to whistle H.R. Pufnstuf. Charlie had no idea why, but she blamed her mother. She loved that crap and made them all watch it in reruns when they were too young to put up a fight. Once the children were safely out of the way, Maxie hit the gas and roared down the street, still whistling. We need a new car, Charlie told her sister when the cops caught up with them again. Because they couldn't have caught them when they were stopped at crosswalk. What's wrong with this one? A lot. Maxie's phone rang, and she insisted on taking one hand off the wheel to answer it. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you, sir. She disconnected a call and glanced at Charlie. What? Charlie pushed when her sister didn't say anything. She needed a break. A break? She needed a break? What does that mean? You know what that means, Charlie. I do? Charlie thought a moment, and then rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, again? You know how she is, but hey, at least she's still in Switzerland. We'll get there in no time. But it's a mental hospital, not a resort. To her, all mental hospitals are resorts. Besides, it could be worse, Max said happily. This could all be so much worse. Charlie shook her head. Dude, I seriously don't know how. I can tell you right now, I don't know how the book's going to get any worse. Yeah, so that is chapter 2 of Hot and Badgered. We have so far been introduced to jackals and a grizzly bear and terrible writing. And it's great. So, anyway. Episode 2 is done. We'll see you guys next one.